What if I told you that Oscar Piastri does not gain positions at the start by reflexes, but because his McLaren is already accelerating before everyone else? Because what happened in Japan 2026 was not a simple great reaction. It was something much deeper. A hidden advantage that gave it more than 20 kilometers per hour at the most important moment of the entire race. While Mercedes, without knowing it, was already losing even before turning off the traffic lights. And here comes the most shocking thing. It's not that Mercedes doesn't have power, it's that it is using that power at the wrong time, just the opposite of McLaren, which has found a weak point in the regulations to turn the start into its most lethal weapon. The question is inevitable. Are we seeing the beginning of a new era in Formula One, where races are won in the first 3 seconds, and where Mercedes is completely lost trying to copy something it doesn't understand? It all begins in a moment that most people overlook. Those seconds before the traffic lights go out, where apparently nothing happens, but in reality, it is where McLaren is already winning the race without anyone noticing. Because while the other teams focus on the driver's reaction, on the clutch, on the initial traction, McLaren is playing something completely different. It is preparing a release of energy that has no comparison on the grid, and most importantly, it is doing it at the exact moment where the regulations still allow it to maximize that advantage without real limitations. This is where the first key concept that changes everything comes in, the famous backloaded deployment, a strategy that breaks with years of logic in Formula One, because instead of distributing the energy throughout the lap, McLaren decides to save it, accumulate it, and launch it all at the most critical moment, the start. This is not a small improvement. It is a total change in philosophy, because it means giving up performance in other areas of the circuit to create a brutal power peak just when it matters most. And that sacrifice is what other teams are not willing or able to make. The result is devastating. Piastri not only comes out well, he comes out with a structural advantage, with a car that at that moment has more energy available than any other, which translates into something completely unnatural in Formula One. A difference of more than 20 kilometers per hour in just a few meters, an outrage that explains why he can overtake without fighting, without risking, simply passing through pure speed. And this is where Mercedes starts to get completely exposed, because their approach is the opposite. They distribute energy evenly, looking for consistency, looking for overall performance, but that comes at a price. And that is that when the most important moment comes, they have nothing extra to offer. They have already spent their advantage ahead of time. In fact, the data itself makes it clear. Mercedes can even reach higher top speeds in other parts of the circuit, but that is no longer useful, because the real battle is not being decided there, it is being decided in the first seconds, and in that area, they are losing decisively. This is the real turning point, because what we are seeing is not just a better start, it is a complete reinterpretation of how to gain positions in modern Formula One, one where energy management is worth more than aerodynamics at that specific moment, and where McLaren has found an advantage that does not depend on the driver, but on the system. And the most worrying thing for Mercedes is that this is not something that can be solved with a simple update, because copying this philosophy implies changing the basis of the car, its balance, its way of understanding energy, and that opens up a much bigger problem. Because if they try to copy it, they could lose the only thing that right now keeps them competitive in the rest of the circuit. But this is where everything gets complicated, because understanding what McLaren does is one thing, copying it is another completely, and Mercedes is discovering that this secret has a hidden price that can destroy the entire balance of the car. Because to achieve that effect on the output, it is not enough to press a button and release more energy. The MCL40 system is designed from the ground up to work like this, from how it collects the energy, to how it stores it, and above all, how it decides when to release it. And here the real problem appears. The ERS in 2026 no longer allows you to play everything at the same time. You cannot reload and deploy with the same freedom as before. So each team has to make a critical decision. Either you are strong at the beginning, or you are strong during the return, but you cannot be both at the same time. McLaren already chose, and it was extreme. They decided to bet everything on that initial moment, on that explosion of power that breaks the start, and that means that in other parts of the circuit, the car is not superior. It may even be more vulnerable, but it doesn't matter, because they have already won the key position. Now, imagine what this means for Mercedes. They have built their car with a completely opposite philosophy: constant efficiency, progressive deployment, balanced performance, a system designed to be competitive at all times, but not dominant in one. And therein lies the dilemma. If Mercedes tries to copy McLaren, they have to break their own identity, They have to redesign how they use energy, change maps, change the logic of the car, even sacrifice their advantage in top speed in other areas where they are currently superior. And that is a huge risk, because they could end up being a mediocre car in all sectors, without the explosiveness of McLaren, and without the consistency that keeps them in the fight right now. In fact, the data already shows that trap. Mercedes can reach up to 330 kilometers per hour in certain areas, more than McLaren, but that advantage completely disappears where it really matters, at the start, where they arrive without available energy, because they have already reached their recharging limit before finishing the lap. That is to say, it's not that Mercedes can't copy it, it's that doing so would imply accepting a structural weakness in the rest of the circuit, and in Formula One, that can cost you entire races. And this is where the story gets even more interesting, because while Mercedes hesitates, McLaren has already turned this into a repeatable weapon. It is not something specific. It is a system, a philosophy, an advantage that can be applied start after start, conditioning the entire race from the first second. And this brings us to the great tension of this story. Because if Mercedes doesn't copy it, it will continue to lose positions at the start. But if it copies it, it could destroy its own overall performance. There is no easy solution. There is no clear path. And that opens the door to the final act, where all this has much bigger consequences than it seems, not only for Mercedes, but for all of Formula One. And this is where all this stops being just a technical advantage, and becomes something much bigger. Because what McLaren has done not only puts Mercedes in check, it completely changes the rules of the game in modern Formula One. Because now the question is no longer who has the fastest car, but who best understands when to use their energy. And that changes absolutely everything. For years, the key was balance, having a consistent, predictable, strong car in each sector. But McLaren has shown that that is no longer enough, that you can win without being the best in the entire lap, if you are the best at the exact moment. And that moment is the exit. What Piastri did was not just overtaking, it was conditioning the entire race from the first meters, because when you take the first corner in the lead, you enter clean air, you manage the tires better, you control the pace, and you force the others to play your strategy, not theirs. It is a cascading advantage that comes from a single moment. And here is the most dangerous thing for the rest of the grid. This is not visible to the naked eye, it is not a new spoiler, it is not an obvious aerodynamic improvement, it is software, it is management, it is applied intelligence. Something much more difficult to copy and much more difficult to detect in real time. That's why Mercedes is trapped. Because if he doesn't do anything, he will continue to lose races at the start, again and again. Seeing how Piastri and McLaren control the start and with it, the rest of the race. But if you decide to copy it, you enter unknown territory, where you can break the balance of your car, lose performance in other areas, and become an even more inconsistent team. It is a decision without guarantees, a blind bet. And this opens a scenario that can mark the immediate future of Formula One. Because if Mercedes finally takes the step, if it begins to redesign its energy philosophy, it will not be the only one. The rest of the teams will also try, and then, the battle will stop being aerodynamic, and will become a total war for energy control. An invisible war, but decisive. And all, for a detail that many did not see. An exit. An advantage of more than 20 kilometers per hour. And a secret that now, everyone wants to copy, but that very few really understand. And in the end, it all comes down to an idea that may seem simple, but is redefining Formula One completely. The fastest doesn't win. The one who best understands the moment wins. McLaren has found something that goes far beyond a technical improvement. It has discovered how to turn an instant start into the greatest strategic advantage of the entire race, using energy as a precise, measured, and brutally effective weapon. While everyone was looking for performance in each curve, they bet on a single point, and it is working for them. And that is what leaves Mercedes in such an uncomfortable position, because they are not losing because of a lack of speed, they are losing because of philosophy, because of approach, because they have not seen before where this new regulation was really going. Now they have to decide. Continue to be a balanced car, but vulnerable at the most important moment, or risk it all, change your DNA, and chase an advantage that can give you the exit, but take away the rest. And that decision is not just technical. It is the type of decision that defines seasons, that marks eras, and that separates the teams that react from those that dominate. Because what Piastri did was not just a great exit, it was a warning, a clear sign of where Formula One is going. A category where energy intelligence can be more decisive than aerodynamics, where software can outweigh mechanics, and where an invisible advantage can decide everything before the first corner. And now the big question is no longer what McLaren did. The real question is, who will be the first to understand it before it's too late? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.